Husk here of Lusk Archery Adventures. Series testing, successful hunting. Today I'm going to be testing a classic broadhead that's been around forever, and that is the Vortex. And this is a Vortex 125 grain model. So I'm really excited to test this head out. I've heard about it for a long time. It's been just a staple in the market from the very beginning of mechanical broadheads. So let's zoom on in here and go through some of the design features and specifications. Then I'm going to put it to the test using all the tests that I'm doing for 2021. And if you're not familiar with those or have questions about them, of course you can always send me a message or something and I'd be happy to respond to it. But I give a full description in the description box below the video of all the different tests that I do and why I do those tests and what the score sheets show and so forth and so on. Then at the end of every video I post a score sheet so you can see how it did in each of the tests and compare it to other broadheads, and then I give it an overall Lusk grade. And for this test I'm using my Bowtech SR6 set at 72 pounds and Bishop FOC King Arrows, as well as I use the Bishop FAD Eliminator, the Firearms Dispatch Eliminator for the concrete test because they're just so doggone durable. So let's check out the Vortex 125. Here's the head close up, and you can see it's just this classic mechanical over-the-top deploying head. Okay, I really like the looks of it. And the blades in the closed position are 7/8 of an inch in cutting diameter, and you can see they have the sharp edges going forward, so you're going to get that cut initially, plus the chisel tip is going to put you over an inch of cut, so you're going to get that at least. But then upon impact, this O-ring, which I really like their O-rings, they're really stout, they roll back and they're often reusable. They open up and the blades expand here to a full 2 3/4 inches of cut. Wow, that's one of the widest cuts on the market there. Pretty cool. Got an aluminum ferrule. It's got a really stout, strong looking chisel tip, steel tip, and then the blades are 0.032 inches thick, and they're made out of a spring steel to aid in their durability. So I'm eager to put this head to the test and see how it performs. .225. The Vortex 125 penetrated 6 inches. Here I want to show you the entrance hole, and you see that it cut a 1-inch cut through the initial layer of rubber foam mat, and then 1 inch later, after the 2 layers of rubber foam mat and the MDF, you can see that the blades had opened up well over 2 inches. .300. It penetrated through 39 layers, and just like some other long mechanicals, like say the Whitetail Special, a lot of that penetration was the tip and not the blades, but that's how I count it nonetheless. So here's the head after going through the MDF 5 times. Now, I want to point out, you notice on the ferrule itself, all that scratching. Okay, that's not from the MDF. That's from me trying to get it out of the MDF. Because on the 5th shot, it got like super lodged in there. And I had to use a power saw to get it out. I didn't want to bend the ferrule. And so sometimes it kind of like got pretty close to the ferrule and nicked it up there. That's not on the broadhead, that's on the saw, okay? But I was really careful to not bend the blades or the ferrule while I was getting it out, and that's why I had to get so close like that. I've never had that problem, having it so difficult to get out. So the ferrule held together fairly well. You see a little bit of a wobble there, which is not bad for such a long ferrule, long aluminum ferrule in 5 impacts of the MDF. And the tip obviously held together in excellent shape. The blades, now these extended part of the blades on either side, those broke off on the 2nd shot in the MDF. However, I kept going because I still had well over 2 inches of cut, which is significant. And even at the very end, after the 5th shot, as much as these blades have bent backwards and lost those end tips, there's still 2 inches of cut. So it's really significant in that sense that it's still cut a lot of tissue, even with the bent blades, because the blades are so long like that. They got a bit bent up, and kind of like after those two broke off on the 2nd shot, then they got a little bit more bent up on the 3rd shot, and then the 4th shot, and then of course the 5th shot. So the good side is you still have 2 inches of cut after 5 shots in the MDF. The bad side is they did lose those ends to the blades, and they did get a bit bent up there. Here's the 125 grain after impacting the concrete. And as you can see, the ferrule got pretty jacked up there. It got bent. You can see the wobble like that. One of the blades got bent. They both impacted the concrete a bit, and one of them got bent back, the other one didn't. The tip really buried deeply in the concrete, like super deeply. It might be the deepest penetrating tip that I've tested. Maybe it's the Grim Reaper Pro Series tip penetrated just as much, but it was so deep I couldn't get it out, and it broke off on impact. So when it shot, it broke off at the threading where it goes into the ferrule. But now, to be honest, when you're shooting this wide of a cut, you've got super wide blades, and so you have to have a really long ferrule. You're not shooting this head into concrete, and you're not shooting it for you're not expecting maximum durability. It actually performed a bit better than I expected it to. Okay, so what do you think of the Vortex 125? You know, it did fairly well for a really big cut like that. You're not expecting the most durable broadhead in the world, and yet it actually exceeded my expectations in durability. Yeah, you know, you see the damage in the center block, and yeah, you see the damage in the MDF, but that's with a whopping big cut. So if you've got a really powerful setup, or you're going after a bit of a smaller animal, like a turkey, smaller deer, a hog, man, this is something really worth checking out, because it's going to put a whop on whatever it hits. Great job, Vortex.